All right. So beginning ordinance committee, R2328, resolution to declare vacancy in the office of the county treasurer and for purposes. Move.
Young.
All right, discussion. All in favor? All opposed, same sign. Resolution R2328 passes. And all right, meeting. Yeah, ordinance motion to adjourn. Yeah.
Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. All right, adjourned.
Good job, Micah.
That went smoothly.
Court meeting to order. Special quorum court meeting is for declaring a vacancy in the office of treasurer. Justice Anderson, would you lead us in an invocation, please?
Our Father in heaven, we come this evening in the name. Heavenly Father, we pray the business that we can. Lord, we love you, we praise you, and thank you right now for all.
Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sarah, would you please call the roll?
Justice Broughton. Anderson.
Here.
Dixon. Here. Young.
Here.
Bright. Here. Owen. Myers.
Here.
Brazil.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
McGrew. Here. Hunter.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Rainey.
Present.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Brazil, second by Justice Peters. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to anything on the agenda tonight? All right, Sarah, would you please read R2328 in its entirety?
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Garland County, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution to declare a vacancy in the office of Garland County Treasurer and for other purposes. Whereas Garland County Treasurer Tim Stockdale has submitted his resignation from office effective October 31, 2023, and has informed the county judge and the Quorum Court of his intentions by the letter attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit 1. And whereas Arkansas Code annotated 1414-1308, 1414-1309, 1414 14-13-10 set forth the procedures to declare and fill vacancies in elective offices. And whereas the Garland County Quorum Court desires to fill the vacancy in an orderly and timely manner pursuant to state law. And now therefore it be resolved by the Quorum Court of Garland County, Arkansas, declaration of vacancy pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-14-1308 and 14-14-1309. The Garland County Quorum Court hereby declares that a vacancy exists in the office of Garland County Treasurer due to the resignation of the incumbent, Tim Stockdale, as evidenced by his letter attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit 1.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve R 2328.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Justice Anderson, second by Justice Broughton. Any discussion? Sarah, please call the roll.
Justice Broughton,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Wright, Owen, Myers,
Yes.
Brazil,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
McGrew,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Rainey,
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Stockdale, you're removed. So the process from here will be that we will accept resumes from prospective appointees until November the 15th. At close of business November the 15th, they will no longer be accepted. On November 16th, I will find each one of you and hand you the resumes. You will be able to look those over until the next Monday night, which will be the 20th, 19th, 20th. Look and see is the Monday following the 15th, 16th, 17th, 20th. The evening of the 20th, we will meet to do interviews. I will schedule each of the prospective appointees a 30-minute time slot for you to do interviews. And then the following Monday, which will be the 27th, we will appoint someone to that position. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now while we're all here. But overall, that's how the process goes. We will be appointing that individual for the remainder of the treasurer's term, which is about 3 years and 1 month by the time the appointment is made. We have asked for some clarification on that from the Attorney General's office, but we have not got that back. The Secretary of State said it would be for the remainder of the term of the treasurer. You got something, Jimmy? Good question.
Just, are we going to receive maybe a packet or something that gives the job description criteria for fulfilling that position?
Try that again.
Are we going to get a packet or something, at least a link to the job description, and so we can study what we'll be looking for on a resume?
Sure. And so what we'll do is we'll provide you the job description of the treasurer. I mean, it's set aside, it's set out what their duties are and what they're expected to do and what their chief job is in the office. And then we'll also provide you with a questionnaire that we use in our screening of applicants. It's basically a point system that you go down through and you rate the individual. You know, you have a question, do you like to eat chicken? I mean, and then they say, well, maybe that's a 3 or whatever. You rate it from 1 to 5 normally on the scale. And it's just, you don't have to go by it, but if you go by that, then it provides the same questions for each applicant so that you actually compare apples and apples. And it's a scoring system. So when the scoring is done, then you've got a good number to go by, so you can tell what person you want to appoint. This is a very important appointment. It handles every dollar that comes through Garland County. And you can ask anybody that works in the office. There's a lot of responsibility there.
Yeah.
So I'll give you, like I say, once we get them on the 15th, I'll get them as early as I can on the 16th. So you'll have an opportunity from then until the following Monday. Then we'll have the interviews that evening. And then once we do the interviews, we'll have a week to think about it. And the night of the Quorum Court meeting, which is actually the fourth Monday, we will appoint someone that night.
Will there be any requirements for the appointee to retain staff that happens
We
to be in
can't
that
require
department?
that. We can't require that.
Okay, so they could
I think you could certainly ask. if their intention is
potentially
to-
relieve long-standing employees if
I think that's anytime there's an elected office. I I mean, they could certainly remove everybody in the office, and this is no different than the elected. And John may correct me on all this, but I think that it's certainly a question you could ask in the interview
Yeah,
process.
that's what I would
What
want
is your
to do
intent
is
with the
ask
rest of the
that
staff?
if their opinion of
Something you could ask.
keeping people or.
Once they're appointed, they're the same as an elected official.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Judge Mahoney's correct. That is equivalent of a person who's been elected to that office. So during the term when they're in that office, they get to make those decisions. Every elected official in the county has the ability to employ their own employees. So a new person could come in and clean the house, or a new person could retain everyone that's in there. And
Potentially, we could ask the question, though,
Yes,
and then
it would certainly be a valid question if you want to ask that. However, just based on that, that shouldn't be your sole consideration of whether a person was to be appointed or not. And you also need to realize that whatever that person tells you, they're not bound to it.
Sure.
They may tell you that, and the next day decide, I'm going to get rid of somebody and I'm going to keep somebody else. And there's nothing that prevents them from doing that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I think any person of value would at least respect the institutional knowledge that is contained within current staff. So I think that's something that will be taken. I have 4 hard resumes so far, and I have another that has told me they're going to turn their resume in. Like I say, we'll be through the 15th. We ran it November 1st in the paper this past Sunday. This next Sunday will be in the paper as well, because in the past, that's what the court has asked that we do, is make public notice and then take applications for resume position and allow you the opportunity to do the interviews.
Thank you.
Do you know what time those meetings start on Monday?
Normally, our court meeting starts at 6. So normally, I think that we could do it at 6. If it's not going to, if we only have 4 and it's 30 minutes, then we would be done theoretically by 8:30. If you 6:30, 7, we would be done by 8. If you want to start earlier, it's the group's pleasure here, whatever you want to do.
And then when you say we're going to appoint them the next meeting, is that an open appointment? Do we all like to choose our favorite? How does that appointment work?
Well, I think that it'll be a vote process. I mean, there'll be a nomination for the appointee, and then it'll be a vote. It's no different than anything else. But you will have the opportunity as a group to look at them, interview them, and go from there with it. But it'll be someone will make a nomination the night that we appoint. If there's more than one nominee, then it will be a vote. If not, then we'll stop the nominations and whoever nominated will be the appointee. But I just want to make sure that when interviewed, all of the candidates have the opportunity to answer the same questions. That's why we were going to provide what we normally have for interviews. So that, we don't randomly, not intentionally, but randomly ask a question of one that another could have answered better, but they didn't have the opportunity to. You follow me on that? It's just try to make sure that we have equitable treatment of all. Anything that anybody would want to add to that? Or something that you would?
I've just got a question. I know we've got 4 or 5, can end up being 6 or more. Who knows? We have a couple more weeks left. What happens if we get into a situation where we kind of are at a stalemate on, say 3 justices want this person and 4 want this one and 4 want this one and 3 want this one? Do you have any idea on how we can eliminate people? Because I don't want it to turn into a Speaker of the House race where we're having 15, 16 votes to figure out who's.
So we will stay there, or we will re-meet until we appoint somebody before 30 days is up. And that would be for the court. I have no say in this. The statute does not provide for me to have any part of it. It's for the quorum court to appoint this person. And so, we've got 30 days to appoint someone from the time that, I guess it's from tonight. So by December 6th, roughly, we have to have somebody appointed that position. So if we can't come to agreement on the 27th, then we will meet again the next night, and we will continue to meet until we come to agreement. I don't know that I understand your point, but I don't know that we would ever see that. But
Myers, if I may get into that, the appointment process is just simply resolution. So it's the same procedure that you use to approve any resolution. It's a majority. If you end up with a group that wants this person, another group that wants this person, it's the one that has the biggest majority. So resolution is the So I think his is if we wind up with 3 nominees or 4 nominees, everybody has a favorite to get nominated. Then, of course, there's 4 that's going to take 8 of you to do that, and then we'll vote on that. But I guess short of that, I mean, we'll have to vote as a group for each one.
Judge, excuse me if you've already answered this. Will this be a closed meeting or will it be open?
All the meetings will be. Oh, let me rephrase that. Justice Dixon, there's 2 things there. The vote obviously would have to be in public. The approval and the appointment process would be in public. The interviews can be, by statute, can be in executive session if you choose to do that. It is up to this quorum court how you would like to do those interviews. If you want to do them in public, of course, I'm sure the public would like to come and watch. If you don't, or if you have a particularly sensitive issue that you don't want to be public, yet you need to know that information, you can have executive session on that if you need to.
Thank you.
Would it be possible? I mean, I guess it's up to you, Judge. But since you've already got 4 applications, I mean, to give us extra time to think about it, could we go ahead and you email us out the applicants? I personally would
Yeah,
like to talk to them individually myself outside of the quorum court meeting. They get to
sure,
know
but
my personal level.
those individuals, like let's just say I sent you the 4 today, and everybody got the 4 that we have, and then we had 2 more. Well, you've had more time to vet the 4 that I send now. I think it's the best interest of the candidate to give them all to you at once, so you've got equal amount of time to vet each one and do research on them.
I don't know if I agree with you on that, but I guess it's whatever.
Understand.
Whatever
And this is somewhat of a gray area. We didn't think there'd never been one done here, but it brought to our attention that in the 90s, I think there were 2 done here, but it was certainly probably a different process.
I think I've got a pretty good idea on who the
It was the
4
same
are
process.
already, so I'll go interview myself.
I remember when they took clerk several years ago. I can't remember exactly how it is.
It was a statute, was the same process. I don't know if they had 4 nominees or if they just nominated or they just appointed someone. I don't know. But it was the pleasure of this court the last time we had someone of importance come up, that we have the opportunity to allow everyone in the county to make application, and then for the court to be able to interview those individuals that were interested. So I think that it could have been done in another manner other than just y'all meet and appoint someone, but I did not give everyone the opportunity. This is basically, you're taking the place of the electorate. The quorum court is going to take the place of the electorate, and they're going to elect someone to that position. So there's a lot of responsibility here. And so I think the more we can do to have transparency for one, and I would encourage you to do the interviews in public. And I think the more transparency we can have and the more conversation we can have with the candidates, the better off we'll wind up being. Any other questions? I'll get them to you just as early as I can on the 16th.
Do the candidates know that we'll be interviewing them in public?
They don't, as of this point. They know that there will be an interview process, and it hasn't been decided whether you'll be interviewing them in public, because that is your decision to make as a group. It's entirely possible that will, but again, everyone has to.
Right, I mean, that could be something as well. I mean, not every person gets a public interview.
Certainly. So we can't even vote on it tonight because it's a special meeting, so we can't even ask about it. But sometime between now and then, we'll get that narrative, whether it would be public. In my opinion, it would be public. I think that's the best thing to do, is to leave it open to the public. But since it's a special meeting, we can't really entertain anything else, and so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Justice Brazil, by Justice Peters. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Nobody's opposed to adjourning. Shirley.
Paul, accept.
Thank you. Thank you. This is actually the regular finance committee meeting tonight. This will be regular finance, but we're rolling to finishing up our budget.
All right, looks like we're ready to go. We've already done an invocation and a pledge, so we'll just roll right in here. Consideration of an ordinance revising the rates for house-to-house solid waste collections.
Mr. Chairman, this been through committee, environmental committee, and it's the $1 house-to-house rate per month that we discussed. There's an ordinance in here preparing for what we believe will be coming at time of renewal for our contracts with both our house-to-house hauler and our contractor that we do business with in Bauxite. Both of the contracts come up within a year of each other, and so we anticipate a large increase. And rather than trying to do that all at once, we're doing it incrementally. Last year we did $1.50. Hope to do $1 this year, and hope to do $1 next year, which should bring us up to the level we should expect that we will see at the end of our contract.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion by Justice Dixon, a second by Justice Hunter. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it. Number 2, give it a due pass. Roll into number 3, consideration of an ordinance to amend the 2023 Garland County Budget Ordinance 2257 to anticipate revenue, appropriate and transfer funds in various budgets, and to establish the Peer Specialist Recovery Fund or Grant Fund. If we look at A part, the county judge received a $15,000 donation from Arvest Bank, which has been received in the treasurer's office to help pay for acoustics in the Garland County Armory building, and would like to appropriate these funds in the General Reserve Capital Improvement Fund Special Projects budget. If we look at letter B, the county judge received $18,792 in a reimbursement from the USAA insurance for a rear flail forward imaged in an auto accident. He would like to appropriate these funds to the county road budget. C part, we got the county judge request appropriation of $125,182 in the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program Grant Fund. The county judge's budget to pay back the Washita Memorial Hospital Sale Fund. And D part, we've got the Quorum Court has authorized the Circuit Court Division I judge to apply for the Peer Recovery Specialist Grant in resolution 2322, and the grant was awarded and appropriated by ordinance 2331. The Circuit Court Division I judge would like to establish Fund 3578 as the Peer Recovery Specialist Grant Fund.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Got a motion by Justice Anderson and a second by Justice McGrew. Any discussion?
Like to have the judge's comments on those.
Okay, on the first one, Mr. Rainey, that's, as we talked about before, RS Bank made a $15,000 donation to help us with our acoustics in here. We've got a RFP out currently to see what it's going to take to fix it. We had a study done on it. We came back with some numbers as to what needs to be done. And so we're actually taking bids on it right now through an RFP process, which will be opened at the end of the week. The sound company came back and tried a different type of speaker in here that it actually helped some. They'll be back probably this week to install those as well. And I think what we'll do, once we get our RFPs back, we will incrementally phase that in. Part of it is to put more of the soundboard on the back wall. So what we'll probably do is we'll start with the speakers, we'll put the soundboard on the back wall, see what it's like. If that doesn't do it, then we'll go ahead to the full length and do the banner in the ceiling like they asked for. So we're waiting to get an RFP back now. We haven't got any yet. We expect to. We've got some people that are interested in it. Once we get that back, then we'll know what we need to do. But I think we can do it incrementally and find out if it meets our standards at that point or not. I mean, it's they've already made some adjustments, and I can tell it's better tonight. But there are some things that the sound company is going to stay with keep working on it as well. The second issue is a gentleman could not wait in traffic behind our flagger truck, and he came around and met a car and ran into the back of our mower and destroyed the flail mower on the back of the mower while it was working on the highway. And thankfully, he had insurance, and so the insurance reimbursed us for the damage. The employee was not hurt, but it very well could have been. So that's what the $18,792 is. The item C, $125,182 is a AHPP grant that we applied for. The first one we received in 4 years to do the terracotta work and part of the interior work on the courthouse. We still have about 4 more sections of terracotta to do. We're preparing a grant for HPP now as we speak, or at least a letter of intent that we intend to apply for another grant next year to try to finish that terracotta work. It's real terracotta, so each piece probably weighs 50 pounds, and it was originally attached to the building with a metal plate. And throughout the years, it started separating from the building, and water intrusion occurred, and it got behind there, and it started to rust those. What started out to be a 1/4-inch piece of plate, about a 1/2 inch thick, because it's delaminated. It started coming apart. Yes, and so we've got 4 sections left that we haven't done, and I would like to go ahead and do those next year if we can get that grant, and hopefully that will end that safety hazard that we've got up there around the courthouse. On the item D, that is for Judge Ohm's court. We did not have a fund established to receive the funds to pay the peer recovery specialist. So we're establishing a fund now for the funding to come to that so that we can pay the county employee out of there with these peer funds. This has been an ongoing process. We kind of got it backwards from the start because Judge Ohm wasn't aware of the process, and he kind of got things backwards. But we've got this should finalize it. This should be everything, I believe, in visiting with Susan, that we need to get everything in order to make that person whole. And I think he's already hired someone in the position. They're already doing a lot of good work.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Number 3, give it a due pass. Next, we got number 4, consideration for a transfer of $40,000 from the construction in progress line item to the buildings line item in the American Rescue Plan Fund, county judge's budget to pay for acoustics in the Garland County Armory building. Transfer 3046.0100.4006 to 3046.0100.4002 in the amount of $40,000.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Got a motion by Justice Anderson and a second by Justice Dixon. Any discussion?
Just as we had engineered or architect estimate on what it would cost after meeting with several acoustics engineers, they gave us a best case scenario, worst case scenario. So we're trying to make sure that we have enough to do it if we need to. But like I said, I believe that we'll start out and try to do it in small pieces so we don't go too far and not know where we actually fix the problem at. So it'll take a little while, but I think it's worth doing it in that manner.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Number 4, give it a due pass. Number 5, we got a consideration for a transfer of $100,000 from the repairs and maintenance other sundry line item to the buildings line item in the general reserve capital improvement fund special projects budget to pay additional costs to renovate the circuit courtroom.
It's on the back of the page there.
And this is 1801.012.2035 transferred to 1801.0112.4002 in the amount of $100,000.
If you get it on the Anderson.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion second on the floor. Any discussion?
Okay, this is the District 1 courtroom in the historic courthouse. And if any of you were ever in there, you know that it had water intrusion in several spots. spots and the plaster was peeling off, the ceiling was falling. And so we ran into some issues that we did not know existed in there once we started. They removed the ceiling tiles to replace the plaster on the ceiling with acoustic plaster, and they found several places that the plaster had separated from the lath behind it. And so basically it was waiting to fall. We've got two large places they had to cut out and plaster back, and then they put an acoustic panel over that and they plaster over that, 3 coats of plaster. But it's a pretty involved process. We also ran into an issue. We moved a doorway out of the courtroom itself, going into the judge's chambers into his administrative assistance area. And when we opened that brick up there, there was not much support for the beam that came across the jury room. So there's been a change order done with that to build a metal frame all the way around it. And then the window dressing, we may not even need this, but I just want to make sure we're getting to the point where we should be finishing up. November 15th was the date we were going to finish it. It's probably going to run over just a little bit, but I want to make sure that we have the funding in there so that we can finish the project once we get at that point, because I know Judge Ohm is anxious to get back in his courtroom. I don't know that there's going to be anything else that we encounter, but anytime you work on an old building like this, you're going to find several things that you did not know existed. So I think we've got all the big stuff tackled, but we're just going back together. They've got the sheetrock up, texturing is still there, painting is still there, window dressings are there. We've got the lighting fixtures have been sent off with the plaster company for reconditioning because they had several areas that had flaked off over the years. You got to think they've been in there over 100 years. So there's areas that have flaked off. So they've been sent back there as well. But I think that we may not need any of this, but I just wanted to transfer from one line to another. So it's not affecting the budget any.
Any further discussion?
Did you have a question?
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed, no. Ayes have it. So you give number 5 a due pass. Number 6, we got consideration for a transfer of $4,448.90 from the machinery and equipment line item to the small equipment line item in the Garland County General Fund, County Attorney's budget. Transfer from 1000.0118.4004 to 1000.0118.2002 in the amount of $4,448.90.
Move for adoption. Second.
Got a motion from Justice Anderson, a second from Justice Hunter. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Give number 6 due pass. Number 7 is a consideration for a transfer of $137,775,000.04 from the fuel, oil, and lubricants line item to the vehicles line item in the County General Fund Sheriff's budget. Transfer from 1,000.0400.2007 to 1,000.0400.405 in the amount of $137,775.04.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Got a motion from Justice Anderson and a second from Justice McGrew. Any discussion?
I will do my best to explain this to you, and we're going to probably see more of this if we don't get some supply chain issues dealt with. So in July of 2022, we ordered 5 patrol vehicles, and they were set to be in by December of 2022. We did not receive those patrol vehicles until July of 2023. Early in 2023, we took bids this year's patrol vehicles, and we had asked for 10 patrol vehicles and 2 for the detention center. They notified us when we got the bid back, we were only able to get 10 of those vehicles. And so we're not going to get to 12. We're going to get 10 and the 5 from last year that actually came in this July. So back in July, we came in and asked for some money to take care of the ones that came in from last year. We were going to take the money that we were going to use for 2 that we didn't get and put it together and be able to purchase the 5 that we had actually ordered in 2022. And then the supplier was actually an outfitting company that we had got the only bid from on the Tahoes in 2023. They decided we would get 12 of them. So this is basically to purchase and outfit the other 2 vehicles that were included in the original RFP. And we're going to see more of this right now. And I know I've told you this, you're blue in the face, but we ordered in May of 2022, we ordered 4 day cab trucks for the landfill. They said they will be built in August of 2023. In August of 2023, they said they will not be built in August of 2023. One will be built in May of 2024. One will be built in June of 2024. And we don't know when the others will be built. Oh, and by the way, they're going to be 2025 models and they're going to be $10,000 a piece higher. So this is what we're running into everywhere. Everywhere we try to purchase equipment, everywhere we try to purchase vehicles for the sheriff's office, the supply chain is interrupted so badly. And I say that's part of it. I believe that at the dealerships, they're probably making decisions on who to sell for. And we were buying at Sourcewell pricing, which was about $30,000 cheaper than a private entity would pay for the trucks that we had spec. They're spec like anybody else would use. So here we are, and we don't know what we're going to get next year. And the biggest problem with that is our trucks are scheduled for replacement. So the maintenance starts to increase on them once they get to that point. And you've got trucks that have been in a landfill every day that have got 350, 400,000 miles on them now. And we're starting to see that increase in maintenance. So we went back and added $100,000 to next year's maintenance budget just because we don't know exactly if we're going to get 2, if we're going to get anything, because in our contract we had with them, our signed bid that was going to provide us for this year was worth absolutely this when it came down to it. And the last reason I heard from them was that they made a decision at the top level of the company we were dealing with to send every frame rail that they had manufactured to manufacture trucks for California, because California has a new timeline on emissions. And if they can get the vehicles to those individuals prior to this next timeline, then they can go into service. If it's after that timeline, nobody is ready with the clean emissions at that point. So what they've done is they've loaded the market out there, took every frame rail that they had available, put it into sending trucks out there, and unfortunately, they got a premium price for them. But it's dollars and cents, it's economics, and being a government entity, we certainly are not going to pay more than we should. Although there's a certain space there that we can probably look at and say, hey, if we can get the trucks now, and they're $10,000 higher a piece, it's going to save us $100,000 next year. So but we haven't found anywhere to get the trucks at. I've reached out to everybody I can reach out to, and that's kind of where we're at on it. And that's long story short. Sheriff McCormick wound up with getting the vehicle that we had budgeted for, but we didn't think we were going to earlier in the year. So, and right now, the way it looks, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get any next year, even though we budgeted for them. They've gave us a very small timeline to order vehicles, and and if you're not ready, you can ask the sheriff. If you're not ready when they open that, it's cut off before you get a chance. I think the last time it lasted about 2.5 hours was all it lasted to get your order in for the Tahoes that we choose to use, and for good reason. They're very dependable and they've held up well so far. But that's what that one is for there. Sheriff, if you want to add anything to that. It's twice tonight I've been right about something. I want everybody to remember that. Go ahead with the call for the vote, sir.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Number 7, give it a due pass. Under other business, we've got the Hot Springs Metro Partnership Report from Mr. Gary Troutman.
I'm not sure if that's on or not, Gary. You'll become an expert at that before long.
think that's thank you, Chairman Brazil. At the risk of sounding redundant, a really busy month this past month. Start off with a site visit we had to Weyerhaeuser, and I did not see it the night it came on, but I think most everyone has seen the True South episode on the SEC network about hot springs in Garland County by now. Have not? With Tony Valinati from DeLucas and um, Keely DeSalvo from the Pancake Shop, Joey Lauren Adams, who's moved here permanently from North Little Rock. Anyway, fantastic show. It's about 30 minutes. It's all about hot springs. It has not been, I looked just over the weekend on YouTube. It's not on there yet. So try to let everyone know when it comes on. It is truly a 30-minute commercial nationwide about our community. I want to thank Chairman Brazil, set us up in the 7th and 8th grade at Mountain Pine. Got to teach out there this month. We participated in the Arkansas Broadband Leaders Network. Vince Signorelli, who spoke to you last month, and I got to participate on an interview on Channel 11 about the growth of pickleball across the country, and especially here in Garland County in Arkansas. We've been working with West Central on a workforce media plan. Part of our Sherman Foundation grant that we got, we're allocating $20,000 of that to go towards promotion to get people to the Workforce Center for resume assistance, interview preparation, help along those lines. Just a personal theory, having interviewed people for 30 years, a lot of times the resume is the biggest stumbling block to someone getting a job. Someone's more than qualified. They're somebody you would want to hire, but the thought of sitting down and building a resume terrifies them. So that's something we want to push and help for with some of the SHRM grant money. The rest we'll put on draft day. We'll provide scholarships to 7 local CTE students, and we'll do a personal preference test for every senior in Garland County to kind of point towards the aptitude that they're most interested in, to point them towards a career. So we're really excited about that. I want to thank Corey Easterday at West Central for helping a lot on that. The Longwoods Tourism Report was released. I don't think anybody was anything but pleasantly surprised. 9.3 million visitors to Garland County, $1 billion spent in tourism. I believe that was up almost 50% from the numbers 5 years before. Serving on the U.S. Chamber Board of Regents, had to go to D.C. and is elected to draw. Just happened to sit with the vice president that night at dinner, and all he wanted to talk about was pickleball. So I know a lot of you probably haven't bought a racket yet. I haven't either. I'm guilty, but it is the fastest growing sport in America and the world. And fortunately, its roots are right here in Garland County with Vince. Coming back that night, I did realize I hadn't talked to the Whataburger folks in a while. Stopped by Benton Bryant to check on the progress there, and lo and behold, they had opened the day before. So the one in Benton Bryant's been open now about 3 weeks and doing well, and I believe we are next on the radar. So hopefully that'll happen sooner than later, and I think we're looking towards springtime there. Kim attended the village POA board meeting with me. Our ACTI committee, Army Navy Hospital, has had a couple meetings this month, including one with Congressman Westerman's staff. He's got a new person, Cody Burkham. I need to get him up to speed on the phase 2 environmental. We talked about growth in Garland County and what we hope to do long range. We had a groundbreaking for La Cala Estates. Landon Mitchell that owns Sam's Pizza is behind that. 165 homes off of Albright Road off 7 South. So love to see those bigger ones, bigger developments, and hopefully that's a sign of many more to come. Bittersweet moment. We all think if you work with the college, you've come to love and appreciate John Hogan, and he's done wonderful things in 9 years. We're certainly going to miss him after he retires, but he's got at least 3 people on staff very capable of filling in, and I'm sure there'll be a big search. Had the SEDC board meeting I attended, and that went well. Got some good information. I posted on my Facebook page. It was just too big a file to put it anywhere. If y'all would like to look, from Ted Abernathy with Economic Leadership in North Carolina. Got about 70 slides there. I think you'd all be interested in. Came back a day early because we had big news at the expressway extension. Only a little time in the making, but man, if y'all have driven it, I don't have to talk to you enough. I'm sure you've driven it many times. Fantastic, and as you all know, we get to host the only event of its kind in Arkansas, the Highway Commissioners Appreciation Lunch, which we did immediately afterwards at the track kitchen. That night, we went to applaud our friends and neighbors in Arkadelphia. They had their annual chamber and their Metro Partnership banquet at Henderson. I got to teach membership for Shannon on our team because she was at the Oklahoma State Chamber doing the same because she does that so well. But Gary and Cole were at Cutter teaching eighth graders that day on career development. I do want to say that these kids have been unbelievably good. They want to hear the message. They're not cutting up a bunch. If they do, Gary's pretty good at corralling them because as a 35-year educator. But they've been very receptive, very attentive. Gary led a meeting of all 7 of the Garland County schools for a CTE meeting the next day. And I've got to change over just for a minute. On the chamber side, we had our 1,000th member party. We got to 992 right before COVID, and you know what happened there. We were planning the event. Things went south, and it took us a few years because businesses, were a little bit uncertain. But now we're comfortably over 1,000, and we're very pleased. I want to congratulate Shannon and our team for that. A little different change of pace, as I told you, we were at Mountain Pine and Cutter. We were at Lakeside 10 days ago. We were actually met with all the faculty, 7th through 12th graders at Lakeside, the teachers. We had Dr. Doug Ross from CHI St. Vincent, Brian Smith from Alliance Rubber, Brian Schenkel from Veranda and Express Boats, and Sarah Roberts from Cobalt. So unbelievably attentive. I had 4 of the teachers actually email me over the weekend for more information. The very next Monday, we were in Jessieville, and I thank Chuck Ragsdale for setting us up there. We had our Economic Development Foundation lunch in Little Rock last week with the governor, Cole, and I thank him. Spent a lot of time this past month. We've been the only accredited economic development organization in Arkansas for several years. Pine Bluff just joined us a few months ago, but we have to reapply every 3 months, and we did our every 3 years, and it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of information. Cole compiled that. We got that sent off last Wednesday. We had a group in from out of state about the Majestic, so really excited, a lot of momentum there as we head towards the end of the year, and took them around. If you haven't been to In the Woods, it's off of Blowout Mountain Road, really neat project out there, and went to Northwoods as well to show them while they were in town. We hosted the Live to Lead with John Maxwell last week. Gary, Cole, and I attended the Arkansas Workforce Best Practices Summit in North Little Rock at Benny Keith. Although it doesn't technically fall under our purvey, I want to mention it anyway. Trey Berry, president of SAU, named new president at Henderson. That should be wonders for our community. Henderson obviously still is the closest, along with Washington, the closest four-year institution to Garland County. Met with the broadband committee last Friday and had our MSA group luncheon in Malvern. And today, as most of you know, and some of you were there, Governor Sanders was in town. But not only was Governor Sanders in town, all 8 or 10 of her direct reports were here as well. We personally had Secretary of Commerce Hugh McDonald with us all day. We've been to Radius Aerospace, Express Boats, met up with the governor at Red Oak, and she also attended, didn't know she was coming, but she was at Department of Workforce Services with us, with Dwayne and his group, and then we finished the day at National Park College. So glad to have her in town. Meanwhile, Gary was talking workforce at Oakland Rotary at their meeting today. So Justice Brazil, that concludes my report. Happy to try to answer any questions if I may.
Quick question, if I might, Mr. Chairman. Gary, one thing that you omitted from your report was a breakfast meeting you had last week with Tyler Tapp, who's running for district judge. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Tyler Tapp asked me to meet And I said, I just want you to know we can't endorse any candidates or anything of that nature. We've redone our policy there, and he said, I'm not interested in that. Just want to get to know you, see you everywhere, all over town, and just wanted to meet. And that's what we did.
Are you going to be meeting with Judge Petro?
Be happy. She
Okay.
meets in our, that's one thing she is allowed other our membership. Her committee meets in the chamber quite often. They've had several meetings there.
If you don't mind me asking, who bought breakfast?
Who bought breakfast? We split breakfast.
Thank you.
I think 2 years ago, approximately, we funded some other people, money, I think it was cable, to expand broadband here locally. I don't remember hearing anything about how that was going on. Do you have any feel for how far they are, all of those expansions?
Well, I'll let the judge jump in because he and Adam Webb actually lead the committee, but I can tell you that Resort, between Mr. Huston and the grants they got, Resort had a total of $22.1 million that they put in for it. As the judge has told you, they built out, Chuck Long has built out Piercy and Diamond Head and Royal. We've seen a lot of folks just last week at the meeting. Hyperlink was there, the company that's come in from St. Louis. I will ask you, Larry, to recall the only real problem that Ritter had when they were going big and bold was the 270, 227 junction was torn up so long. Took them for quite a while to get to Mid-America, but they finally did, and to the college. And they had a little issue with either RDOT or Entergy crossing the 70 bridge. They got that resolved about a year ago or so, and now they're all the way out to West Wego, which is just a tad, I believe, before Lake Hamilton School, if not all the way to the school. So everyone's building out. Hyperfiber in particular is interested in North Garland County and the village part, the Garland County part of the village. The others are taking their South Central is really interested around, we mentioned earlier, Albright Road, 7 South, 290. That's kind of their niche. But by and large, Resort, Ritter, and AT&T have kind of just gone all over the city, all over the county. They haven't had so much rhyme or reason as the others. The last two have been a lot more specific about where they're going. But the build outs continue. We'd like to see more residential out of Ritter, but if you're keeping score, they got about every community there was when the broadband money was coming from ARPA. They got the contract to build out just about every city in Arkansas. So their plans to expand into residential, they had to put that on the back burner. But AT&T and Resort, have been steady in that regard. I think you'll see more Ritter in the coming years as they catch up in these other markets, and certainly these two new carriers we've got coming to town.
By the way, I ran into the owner of Honey Bear Cam over the weekend. They're opening on Wednesday and they're taking over the Thanksgiving.
Cannot wait.
Can't wait for it.
On a side note, when I was at the Democrats, my auto and real estate and hospital accounts, that was a Christmas present with honey baked hams. They're pretty tasty, as you know.
Justice Rainey, if I might add to that, Resort, Waco, Cable Links, whatever you want to call it, expects to be complete with their projects by the end of this year. They've got 12 projects and they expect to be complete with them. They're having some supply chain issues, just as everybody else does. But the last meeting that I had with Chuck, he said they expect those to be complete. As Gary mentioned, South Central Connect, Hyperfiber, AT&T, we're starting to get some competition coming in. We're starting to get more than one provider in an area. And Paul's boss, Adam, and Adam Beck at the library have been instrumental in working us through the next level of funding that's coming for broadband. They're taking a lead on our committee that we formed here, 26 members to our committee, and we've taken someone from virtually every aspect of life in Garland County, and we're reaching out, pushing the ACP, which is Affordable Connectivity Plan, so that those underserved and unserved can realize the same speed of internet as we can at every level. So In visiting with South Central Connect, they've got some real interest in South Garland County. They also have interest in coming around the north side of Lake Ouachita, which basically is unserved right now. They had a project that was funded in Montgomery County, and they plan to come around the north side. They may have a sub on that that's going to help them with that, but we're starting to see some overlapping of several sections. I think in the first 6 months of 2024, we're going to see a great improvement in our providers here. I think we're going to see a lot more.
I appreciate that, Judge. As a side note, the meeting at the Governmental Affairs Committee this past Friday, they were talking about the same thing. There's a lot more players now interested in coming into the village and add them. So they have high rates of a lot of those areas where, you know, you go out, not that many service addresses, when you go out some of the roads, they will get demand for it.
You know, we have reached out to every provider that we've talked to and encouraged them to go to the village, you know, provide some service in the village. But until we get the map, federal map, proven wrong and mapped the correct way, there's some areas in there that show to have service. And so the providers, the ISPs stay away from that because they show to have service. Obviously, they're not going to go in there. So the maps are wrong, and we're going to get those. I think we actually have our program set up for the first week of January is when we're going to start that process of being able to contest the maps. So we're working on it. We've got two great guys at the library that are deep into this. We had a good meeting with the broadband chair of the state last week, and so he said his exact words were Garland County is way ahead of everybody else. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And the judge was on Zoom. Cole and I were actually there. The gentleman from Hyperfiber. I said, look, not trying to be negative Nelly or anything, but you know, a lot of people tackle the village, and you know, they've backed up First Electric, for instance, on the Saline County side because we've got big, strong equipment. We're ready to tackle it. So he knows what they're heading into.
Gary,
Yes.
oh,
Yes, sir.
what was the 30-minute program? Where can we see it that featured DeLucas?
Jimmy, it was it's on the SEC network,
Okay.
and I only caught it on a repeat. I didn't see it the night it aired, but it just happened to repeat.
What's the title
It's
of
called
it?
True South,
True South.
and they've done several communities in the SEC footprint over the last few years. But Hot Springs was the opening show for this season. But you've got to see it. It's unbelievable, really is. We could have hired a Hollywood actor to take Tony's role from DeLucas, and they couldn't have done any better. I mean, if he doesn't make you proud of your hometown, yeah.
He got that on top of the Barstool Sports endorsement, which was huge. Yeah.
He's on a roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further questions for Mr. Troutman? All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to approve the report. Thank you. We'll look at our position and salary adjustments. We've got our overtime report. .5% sales tax. Sales tax rebates. Oakland revenue report. Any questions on those? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion carries. Next, we will go to our special finance committee meeting. We'll go ahead and get started with that. Consideration of the 2024 budgeted personnel proposed cost of living adjustment and agreed upon 1% for commissioned deputy sheriffs employed as such. A part is a correction to the lead roll-off operator in the solid waste budget, position control number PCN 3009.0700.1324 should be budgeted at $38,049.02 instead of $38,019.16, not including any potential 2024 cost of living.
That's just to correct that line. It needed a correction.
Gotcha.
I think it had a scrivener's error in it. I'm not sure, but it was a $30 mistake on there.
B part, we got a correction to the truck driver roll-off operator in the solid waste budget. CN 3009.0700.1372, created in November 2022, which did not have the 2023 cost of living carried over in the budget. The budget should be $35,048 instead of $33,504, not including any potential 2024 COLA. C part, we got the county judge would like to move all labor positions in the solid waste budget to $29,051.56, except for PCN 3009.0700.1342, which is budgeted at $29,746.63. The employee holding this position has been employed since 2016.
So, Mr. Chairman, that item C there was that it was an amount budgeted for the laborers, and they were all over the place on pay scale. We're moving them all to the same thing, except for the one that's been there since 2016, and it's the budgeted amount, so it did not affect the budget itself. That was the budgeted amount, and they were being paid less than that. So, in an effort to retain our employees, we're moving them all to that amount.
Okay. And then we've got D part, proposed cost of living for 2024 is 6%, and the agreed upon 1% increase for commissioned deputy sheriffs employed as such. The county general fund percentage change for both increases will be 85.82% from 83.7%. With letter I under there, the law enforcement increase for each year of service beginning in fiscal year 2024 with a maximum of 5 years. That step increase would be in addition to any COLA, bonus, longevity, or certification pay.
Move for adoption.
Got a motion from Justice Dixon, a second from Justice Rainey, I believe. Any discussion?
Just want to make sure y'all realize that the numbers that we have include the things that I did not note them, but we have a new position in our attorney's budget, and there's a change in the sheriff's budget. I just want to make sure,
It's the FOA position that we created, been through HR, and the sheriff, the 1% increase was what we agreed to in May. We gave the raises. And what that will do, that will actually create a step. So if someone's been there 2 years, they're going to be making more than an entry-level person into the sheriff's office.
Yes, and then that bookkeeper's position received a increase, and that's it.
It was actually kind of a wash on we took one position and lowered it, another position and raised it. So it didn't cost any more money budget wise. It was just the responsibilities were shared differently than they had been in the past because of the employees we had.
Any further discussion?
Just a question too, if you would indulge me, Chairman. I had a question with regard to the first page of the sanitation / solid waste, a solid waste on printout. The lower portion of the page, given that it's highlighted the difference in the current, so what proposed. There was an exception for 1342, piece in 1342. So that particular one, 1341, right? I couldn't quite get it, so I was, should have been 1342.
So
24.
on the labor positions, the 1342 was not increased because they were already making the maximum amount in that line. And it's because they had been there since 2016. And the other laborers, if you'll notice, they all moved to that 29051, which was what was budgeted, but they were like, one might have been making 29 or 27.3 and one making 28.4. So in an effort to keep all the laborers the same, and there's a high turnover rate in those laborers. So when we have somebody that's been there since 2016, it's a significant event. So that's why they're making more of it. That's why it's not highlighted, because the changes are the ones that are highlighted. And so it'll bring it to your attention as you look through the budget. It's once you start looking at this many numbers, it's a little easier if we highlight an area that will get your attention.
I could understand all the others, I just have trouble getting my arms around that.
Yes, sir.
I was on the idea, I hope it insulates us from the fact that I know we had high turnover rate, get people into the study.
So if we get the approval of the COLA tonight, I believe that will bring all of our employees except 14, I believe, to $15 an hour or more. So we'll only have 14 that by the end of next year, hopefully we can give a COLA that will bring everybody above 15 hours. And you know that 4 years ago, we set out to bring our employees to $15 an hour. And in the interim, we have done things such as flat rate rather than percentage increases. And that worked great for our lower level employees, getting them up. And even though everybody got the same money, you know, our higher level employees were somewhat, our department heads, our elected officials, they were somewhat reduced in what they were making should you provide a true cost of living adjustment. But it has worked well for our intent. I believe it's worked well. If we're within 14 of having everybody at $15 an hour, and those are in the 14, so we're not far from it. But I think it's worked really well. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that we're going to get there, because there's no reason that you should have to live in poverty to work for Garland County. I mean, it's just, I think we've got a great group of employees, and our goal is to have the best employees we can possibly have, and have them proud to have a job here.
I'd like to have Mike's comment, review your, letter that you had sent. I thought it, I think that, frankly, what you're suggesting should well insulate us from becoming a training point for a lot of other people. You know, people, because salary comes in off a grand more. So I was wondering if we would expand on that. This was my safety, my safety, and the rest of the on court.
I'd be glad to. It's critical. Right now, we actually have 5 patrol positions open, and we're having a very difficult time filling. I think this 7% increase is going to make a gigantic difference, retaining the deputies, the patrol deputies in particular, keeping them with the department. So that'll put it very close to 50,000 starting pay. It's going to be a tremendous asset. One thing also that is, I've not seen it since I've been sheriff. We're at 100% staff at the detention center. So our focus right now is filling the patrol slots, and the increase is going to make a big difference.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 2 gets a new pass.
Mr. Chairman, we need to go back to number 1 and look at the capital assets.
No, I'm sorry. Skipped that, didn't I?
Okay, I know you were excited. You got just a little bit ahead of
I
yourself.
got the call the order part right, so anyway, consideration of the 2024 budgeted capital assets. We need to look at those as well.
When you look at your capital assets, you realize those are scattered over several departments, several funds. Most of it is things that we definitely need, and some of it we won't be able to get. You have to know going in when we budget for certain items that there's a good opportunity for us not to be able to get those items within the calendar year that we budget them for. So just know that going in. And some of the stuff you see on there will be things that we have rolled forward from this year that we were not able to get, or we don't anticipate being able to get them. So if you got any questions about any item on this list of capital assets, please ask. And we'll do the best we can to explain it.
I've got a question about just one item on there. It's general capital improvement, fund 1801, account number 4002 for the senior citizens building, $500,000. If the full quorum core passes the budget as presented at our November 27th meeting, what does it look like for the purchase of the senior citizen building in 2024? Is that going to give you the ability to purchase a building without coming back to us through committee, or how exactly would that process?
The funding would be available. It would be budgeted for it, but before we do any senior citizens building, it will come back to environmental services, public works and buildings first, then it will go through finance, and then it will go to full quorum court for the purchase. But if we don't have it budgeted, then that doesn't figure into our percentage for figuring where we're actually at on revenue versus expense. So it will, I think the first place it will come back to is public works and buildings and environmental services to approve the site. Then there may be adjustments that have to be made as far as funding and finance. Let's just say we find an ideal location and it's going to cost us $650,000 instead of 500. Then we have to go back and review at that point and see if we have a reserve in our revenue stream that we can pull in, make it match, so we don't climb too close to that 90 percentile. By statute, I'm sure you're aware, we can only spend or budget 90% of what we bring in unless it's a special tax. And so sometimes during the year we have big expenses that cause us to increase the percentage, and that's why we try to start out below 86 if we can, and that way it gives us a little breathing room in there. So yes, it would definitely have to come back to finance, because I don't think we're going to find anything that's exactly $500,000, but we have to budget it to move it forward.
Thank you.
I understand your question, and I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Justice Anderson made a motion to accept the capital report.
Got a second from Justice Rainey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So this budget will not be voted on by the full quorum court until the December meeting. When we actually do our budget, at the meeting in November, we will be doing millage setting. And I think there is one rollback this year that we'll be doing. I've only seen that one other time, but we will be doing a rollback at budget or at the millage setting. And then I guess it's December the 13th, maybe our regularly scheduled quorum court meeting is. And that's when the budget is approved or disapproved at that time.
Judge, there was an article on the record a couple of days ago about the city and county's interlocal agreement and their share of the tax that we agreed to give them. you don't foresee any changes in that agreement for the 2024 budget. do you?
So I read the article and it's somewhat vague in what they're expecting. But I think that obviously we can't give something we don't have. And the ordinance that was set forth for that agreement was to provide a share of our new growth. And that's the only way I can see that we could provide a share of our new growth. Obviously, we're going to continue doing business and continue providing water. They'll continue to provide water. And I'll be glad to sit down with them and talk to them about it. But I don't see any other way after the time we went through trying to figure out how to make it work, that it would work for us because we cannot provide something that we don't have. We took an average of 8 years and the growth was 3.62%. And we figured sharing anything above that, and it's on an annual basis. And so, I think the city's open to discussion on it, and I'll be glad to sit down and discuss it with them. But I don't see that we can do anything other than what we're doing right now.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing further, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So one other thing I need to ask everyone while you're here, Ray Owen's not here, so he'll just have to go along with it. Our Christmas party, our annual Christmas party, took it upon myself to try to reserve the Brick House. That's where we eat. It's a locally owned business, and it's where we've normally done for the past few years anyway, was where we've done our Christmas parties. And so right now, tentatively, I have it reserved for December the 8th, which is a Friday at 6 p.m. We can also do the 1st if that works better for everyone. So I kind of need somebody to tell me whether we want to do the 8th or the 1st. Both of them are Friday nights. We do it at 6 p.m. Now, as of today, we can still do the 1st. That may be different in the morning. But if you all tell me what your pleasure is, we'll try to make it happen. Eighth, good with everybody? Well, that's what we'll do. Brick House Grill, 6 o'clock, 8 p.m. Dirty Santa gifts. What do you want to set a limit at? $25? That's what we do. $25. We'll exchange gifts there and eat. We can't move and complain about how full we are when we leave. Sure, we're not in session and the sheriff is here, but I think that it's a huge void for all of us. Jason has been a fantastic part of our team ever since he was working in district court. Jason was at budget time. Jason was the guy that would get you any answer you wanted about district court when you asked him. We would sit down at budget and say, "Hey, what about this?" If he didn't have it, he would be back in 5 minutes with it. And very efficient, great guy. Great morale booster. It's going to be a huge void for the sheriff to fill, and the sheriff's made a statement about it, and I know it's a loss to him as well. But at the same time, we all have to be excited for Jason moving into a new facet of life, and it's a great step up for him. And this is one more reason we need to pursue all we can for our employees because he's moving to a better position. He's going to work for Clest. He'll be the deputy director at Clest, I believe. Is that right, Mike? It's going to be more pay, better benefits. So that's why I continue to push hard to try to do as good as we can for our employees because the sheriff's office alone, the amount of institutional knowledge that they have lost over the past 12 months cannot be replaced in our lifetime. We've lost the state, other agencies. They're hiring not our new employees, they're hiring our long-term employees. And you cannot blame them for going. They offer a great package. And so we're going to do the best we can. And I've told you several times this year already, I've got a plan to do better. And we're going to be coming to you with it. The sheriff and I will be bringing it to you this coming year to try to provide the funding, put more people on the street, more people in the prosecutor's office, and more people in the call center. And provide pay that is equitable for agencies like ours or the state police. We've got to get there. We want to have the very best law enforcement people that we need can have. And since I was on the Quorum court the first time, 2005, at budget, I always heard, well, we need to put more people on the street, but we just can't afford it this year. Ladies and gentlemen, that was 18 years ago, and we're still talking about the same thing now. We need more people on the street, but we just can't afford it. It's time to put ourselves in a position to afford it. You know, we've got people out there. The sheriff and I had a discussion with a gentleman about adding some staff, and I told him, I said, there's no way we could add staff right now. On that day, the sheriff had 4 people patrolling 700 square miles of Garland County. Now, we cannot continue to ask our deputies, our patrol deputies, our CID people to work like that. It's a dangerous situation. Someone is going to get hurt or worse. And can you imagine getting a call on the north side of Lake Washita, 45-minute trip running hot, and no backup up there with you because we've got several calls around here. Same thing with our dispatch center. At times, we only have 2 people working in there, and they're grabbing warrants, they're checking warrants, they're answering phones, they're answering questions, they're dispatching, they're listening for the fire department to call in, they're toning out a fire department. If you've ever listened to a recording of that room, it will make you sick to your stomach because you've got, I just don't know how they do it. I do not know how they keep up. So we're going to have to put some more people up there. We're still working forward with the city of Hot Springs for our consolidation. We're getting prices back right now from one of the biggest hurdles we had to overcome, and that was for our CAD system and our records management. We've got some favorable numbers back from both, I believe. So we will be having another meeting before long to look at our Spillman and our Southern software, and we'll be looking at consolidating not just our PSAP, but we're going to try to get a system for the sheriff and his people that is one system all in one box. Right now, CAD's with Southern Software, the jail's with Justice Solutions, I believe. Records management is with Justice Solutions. So when you go to do something, you have to open 40 boxes. I'm exaggerating, but you have to open a lot of boxes to do something. If we can, both Spillman and Southern provide CAD, they provide records management systems, and they provide jail management systems. So if you've got the same provider with all of those systems together, they're linked, that's what we need to do. And it is not cost prohibitive. I've seen some of the numbers come back, and I think it's something we can do. And I think the number of man hours it's going to save, it'll probably be a cost savings to us overall. So I know all of you are law enforcement positive people. And if you've got any constituent in your district that has not said, man, it just seemed like it took the sheriff's office forever to get here. Well, it happens because they're already on another call. You know, I mean, if you watch the CAD at all, it's not, hey, we're going to be out for lunch. No, we're not. One call after another, one call after another. And when you open that CAD up and there's 7 active calls and you got 4 people on the street, it's a problem. So I think that it's a shoot back to the original point, and the sheriff may want to expand on it. Losing Jason will create a huge void, but so has some of the others that we've lost over there this year. I think that he has probably been one of the best morale boosters for the sheriff's office. And I can tell you the sheriff is losing his right arm in this. It's no different than anybody that's been with you since the beginning. You know, you depend on them. They know your actions, you know theirs. And so not just the loss of him, but trying to break someone new in that position, whether it be tenured staff or whether it be someone from outside, it's still going to be different for the sheriff. And meanwhile, while he's trying to do that, he's 5 guys short on patrol. So say a prayer for the sheriff, and I tip my hat to him for continuing to move forward with this program over there.
Is a asset here. Get your arms around since I'm positive attitude that we, regardless of what the problem is, does. It's just absolutely amazing. My guys are really, I don't know how you find places We'll help you any way we can. My gosh, I would suggest anybody on the board that wants to say bye.
Or feel free to stop by and see me there just about all the time. Yeah, Jason Lawrence, world-class individual. It's going to be a loss.
Thank you for bringing that up. It certainly deserves saying.